In 2002, volunteers had sufficiently restored the long-redundant Kempton Park Waterworks pumping station to enable it to open as a museum. The giant steam engines were originally fed from boilers fired with coal brought in by rail.
From records examined during the early years of restoration, it was found that there were two railway systems serving Kempton Waterworks. The first was a standard gauge connection that can be seen on the right of the picture, branching from the Waterloo to Shepperton line of the then Southern Railway. This ended on a Metropolitan Waterboard embankment with sidings equipped with coal drops and a tippler. The second rail connection to Kempton was a 2-foot gauge line seen here on the left with a waiting train. This was constructed in 1915 to transport coal unloaded from barges by crane at a wharf situated next to the waterworks at Hampton. It was more economic to use this supply route than the main line. The Metropolitan Water Board designed 3 locomotives that were built at a cost of £678 each by Kerr Stewart. They were named Hampton, Kempton and Sunbury, and they were kept in sparkling condition. The narrow gauge railway finally closed in 1946 and all 3 locomotives were scrapped. The railway was authorised by an Act of Parliament but was forbidden to carry passengers, but it would appear from the picture that Water Board directors considered themselves outside this rule when inspecting the works. The standard gauge sidings were closed in the mid-60s following industrial action, and thereafter road transport was used until the steam engines were closed down in 1980. In 1999, the Kempton Great Engines Trust first discussed the idea of restoring the narrow gauge railway with Thames Water, who own the trackbed. This map shows the complex nature of the system of wharf and pumping stations in the Hampton area. Now, this area is unlikely to be available for restoration in the foreseeable future, so the current plan is to build a terminus in a recreation area known as Hyde's Field north of the Upper Sunbury Road. The railway line went underneath the road and the bridge still exists, currently used by Thames Water for service connections. Once clear of the bridge, the line went along the edge of Hyde's Field to the Hampton Distributing Reservoir, popularly known as the Red House Reservoir, from a building on its shore. This is the termination of the Staines Aqueduct and is also a site of special scientific interest. There is a bridge carrying the Waterloo to Shepperton Main Line Railway over the trackbed at this point, and recently it has been strengthened by a beam which has reduced the clearance for the restored railway. Much of the line runs through rural surroundings with very few buildings to be seen. At Kempton Park Lane, a bridle path also known as Bunny Lane, remains of a double track can be seen. It is planned to build a halt near here to allow passengers to alight for a visit to the Kempton Nature Reserve, a disused, partially drained reservoir managed by Thames Water conservators. After the Bunny Lane crossing, the line went on to the coal dumps and engine houses. Now, these areas are still part of the operational waterworks and new buildings block the old line, so the restored line will deviate some way before this point. The new route will be constructed to cross the Staines Aqueduct to pass into a large field to the south of the engine houses. It will be parallel with the Waterloo to Shepperton line and pass close to the point where the standard gauge branch left the main line. A temporary terminus is planned here which will have pedestrian access to an existing car park next to the Kempton Museum. Progress with negotiations for a lease of the trackbed was slow, and this led to a proposal from the Kempton Great Engines Trust to construct a short loop of track in a paddock adjacent to the museum that was already leased by the Trust. This would help to keep the volunteers on board and provide a valuable training opportunity. Planning permission was obtained from the London Borough of Hounslow in 2010, and construction of the Hamworth Loop, as it came to be called, started the same year and the basic track completed in 2012. The track is built with recovered rails and points from Cambridgeshire. The concrete sleepers are manufactured by volunteers who are able to work under the cover of the elevated section of the Country Way at Kempton. This provides an excellent working space protected from the worst of the weather. A small petrol hydraulic locomotive has been designed by a member and built by Science Project Limited, a charitable trust. It was named Hounslow by the mayor of that borough at a ceremony in 2008. Hounslow has been employed on construction work and will be used to haul lightly loaded passenger trains until a more powerful diesel can be acquired. A variety of special purpose trolleys and wagons has been assembled to support track laying. Various dilapidated wagons and coaches have been procured at affordable prices and are currently being restored. All railways require a considerable amount of supporting infrastructure, and the Hampton and Kempton Waterworks Railway is no exception. Workshop and secure storage space is provided by converting recycled shipping containers. The 6-ton Ransom and Rapier mobile crane was donated by Thames Water and has been restored to full working order. The Hamworth Loop is a continuous track and runs around the edge of the paddock close to the Kempton Steam Museum. A great deal of effort is being put into driver training and formulating the rule book for the railway. Health, safety and security are very much to the fore, along with setting up the financial and legal structure of the railway company. There is much to do. Once accepted by the Office of the Rail Regulator, the railway will be open to the public to generate income. Eventually, it is the intention to make it part of the restored route to Hampton. The level crossing is necessary to allow access to the grazing area surrounded by the railway line. This is the works area of the line with the engine shed and siding for unloading from road vehicles. It is hoped that visiting locos and rolling stock will come in at this point as well as raw materials. The railway offers a unique opportunity for visiting locos in the London area to have a good long run for testing, training and just having fun. Perhaps one day short driving courses will be possible. The full story of the original railway is told in a booklet, The Hampton and Kempton Park Waterworks Railway, written by Ron Howes, who worked for the Metropolitan Water Board for many years.